Hello and welcome to COMM 110 Public Speaking here at Golden West College online. So I wanted to, in this first video, introduce myself a little bit and talk through the syllabus, sort of like we would on a traditional face-to-face first day in class. So my name is Dr. Christine Clancy. I've been teaching here at Golden West for 3 years now. Before I was at Golden West, I was an adjunct professor. So I was teaching at several campuses, including Orange Coast College, Long Beach City College, Cerritos College, etc. So I'm very happy to be a full-time faculty here, and it's allowed me to expand our course offerings, so to get this online program going and things like that. I grew up in Southern California, so my folks still live down in Oceanside. I did my undergraduate and my master's degree at Cal State Long Beach. I live in Long Beach now. That's, I really like the city and moved away, came back, moved away, came back. And I did my PhD work at Purdue University in Indiana before moving back to California. So that's just a little bit about myself. I'll learn more about you through your speeches, and you can share that information in the coming weeks. So I wanted to take a second and go through the syllabus. So the syllabus is available to you online in the first module in the resources section. So I'm sort of still tactile, even though we're online. I like to sort of have a copy of things, paper printed out. So I just wanted to kind of go through the syllabus and talk a little bit about the expectations for the class and how they might vary from a face-to-face version of this course to an online version. So for me personally, I am around in the summer, so I'm teaching 2 online sections, but also 1 face-to-face section. So if you wanted to get a hold of me, the easiest way to do that is email. I do have an office and my phone number is here, but I won't be in my office extended stretches through the summer, so that's not the best way to get a hold of me. So please do just utilize the email, and I try to be pretty quick with getting back to you via email. In the online section, there's also a Ask the Instructor section in the of a discussion board. So that appears in the week 1 resources as well, and that's an opportunity for you to ask basic questions about the course. I obviously will answer them, but the idea of posting in the discussion board is that everyone can answer them. So if you see someone post a question that you know the answer to, please go ahead and respond. And then if you have a basic question, that's also a really great resource for you to start by looking through the discussion section and seeing if I've already addressed that concern with another student. So I don't traditionally go through sort of the front end of the syllabus where you have the course description and the outline and or the outcomes and the objectives, so you can go ahead and take a look through that. I did want to highlight a few things as it relates to the course and the sort of conduct of the course. It is a little bit different because it's an online course, so we don't have things like formal attendance, and there's you don't come into the classroom late like you might in a face-to-face course. But I do want to sort of really reiterate that while the course is asynchronous, there are distinct deadlines that go along with the course, and this is not something that you can just put off and do a bunch of things at the end. You have to keep up with those daily and then weekly deadlines. So the sort of expectation is that you'll be in the classroom at least a few times each week. If you plan ahead, you can accomplish certain things ahead of time, and then you won't have to be in the classroom as often, but you do need to be meeting those basic deadlines. So you can submit things early, you just can't submit them late without penalty. So just be aware of that as you move forward. A lot of the other stuff that's in the syllabus is sort of, things that you would traditionally see in a syllabus, but a lot of it doesn't have quite the same translation as it would in an online course. But just to reiterate sort of generally that audience participation is still very important. You are going to be expected to review your classmates' speeches as part of an audience. So while this class does not utilize a live audience, you are still speaking in public, speaking in front of people. You're just doing so in an asynchronous way. So you are sharing your videos, and then you will go in as a class and watch those videos and provide feedback. As you would in a face-to-face class, it would just be happening live as opposed to happening sort of at your own schedule. Everything will be happening through Canvas, so it is important that you understand how Canvas works, that you can poke around and navigate Canvas, that you can access the things that you need. For our class, everything is divided into modules based on the week. So each week, what is due or what I expect that you will need access to is available in that particular week. Sometimes you may have to go ahead to look at a specific assignment description as you begin working on it ahead of time. So that's really where I want to focus our attention, is on the assignments and what we're sort of doing in the class. So you do still have classroom participation, and that is made up of your activities and your discussion participation. So you will, over the course of our 6 weeks, have a few discussion prompts where you're asked to evaluate different things, or to share different things and get feedback from your classmates. And you do have one sort of formal activity assignment. Those make up the classroom participation. So it's very similar to what you would be doing in a face-to-face classroom, discussing with your classmates and working in small groups or individually to complete activities. Then you have a series of quizzes. So I don't give a midterm in my classes. Instead, I use individual chapter quizzes. So as we progress through the term, you will have a quiz at the end of the week for the material that we covered that week. But because it's summer and because it's a 6-week course and everything's moving very fast, you usually will have several quizzes. So if you peek at the schedule, you'll notice that in week 1, you're asked to read chapter 1, and then at the end of that week, you will take a 10-question quiz on chapter 1. So those are examples of sort of things that have deadlines. You do have to take the quiz by the end of the week. If you took it earlier, that's fine. Maybe you want to read chapter 1 the very first day and then take that quiz. That's totally acceptable. But by the end of the week, you need to have taken that quiz in order for it not to be late. And that's sort of really what covers the basic content material. At the end of the semester, there is a final exam. The final exam is comprised of, let me back up on the quizzes, I apologize. You'll take 12 quizzes over the course of the term, but only 10 of them count. So your 2 lowest scores are automatically dropped. So you're going to have seen 120 questions on the content material. The final exam then is 100 of those 120 questions. So it is comprehensive, cumulative, however you want to think about it, but I'm not asking you any new questions during the final exam. So as long as you keep up with the quizzes, that you review what you're getting wrong, the final shouldn't be a surprise. It will all be the same set of questions. So that's really the basic content, the way I'm asking you to demonstrate that you're engaging the material and that you understand the content of the course, is through the quizzes. So then the bulk of the work, because this is a public speaking class, is speeches. So you have 1 minor speech and 3 major speeches over the course of our time together. And we get to them very quickly. So I do want to be clear about that. So the very first speech is due this week, right? So you have to get on top of it. But that's your minor speech. It's an introductory speech. Everybody should be getting full credit on that speech. This speech is really designed to allow you to sort of introduce yourself or something that you're interested in, and get comfortable with the idea of speaking publicly, making videos, getting YouTube figured out and how you're going to post things, how you're going to share it in the classroom, all that sort of stuff to get you comfortable with that process. So the introductory speech assignment description is available in the week 1 modules under assignments. And it's very short, but basically you are going to give a 90-second speech on a topic that you would like to discuss. I generally encourage you to talk about yourself. So if you spend 90 seconds sharing a little bit about who you are, about your interests, about your family, what you're doing over the summer, your academic interest, any of those kinds of things, I think that is the easiest way to accomplish this speech. So you'll record yourself. That is how the speeches in this class are going to work. We will spend the first discussion talking about what kinds of videos we want to produce and how we would best present ourselves in an online environment, because it is different. So this class is not meant for you to sort of like pretend that you are in front of a classroom. It's meant to sort of get us thinking about, in the digital age, how do we present ourselves? How do we deliver speeches? How do we deliver tutorials or demonstrations? How do we advocate on behalf of ourselves or on issues that we are concerned with? So that's the idea. And how it varies a little bit from the face-to-face experience. So we will talk more about that in the discussion, and we will sort of set out the parameters for what we expect in terms of the video quality. But your video does matter, right? So our ability to see you, to hear you, making eye contact, using your hands, not having a ton of junk in the background of your video. These are all things that are going to be important to how we evaluate the speeches beyond the content of the speech and part of the delivery of the speech. So that introductory speech is for you to sort of get the hang of it, to figure out what works for you, what equipment works for you, where in your home or office or wherever you're going to videotape works for you. If you're going to need help with a video, have someone do the recording for you, all of those kinds of things moving forward. But anyway, everybody should be getting full credit on this speech, and then we'll provide some basic feedback. That speech does not require an outline, and it does not require peer critiques. So that's just a basic minor introductory speech. Then we're going to move into our major speeches, and you're going to give 3 of them over the course of our time together. So 2 of them are informative. You have a demonstration speech and a formal informative speech, and then you end with a persuasive speech at the end of the term. And they build in length, and they build in terms of expectations and responsibilities, what you have to accomplish in each of those speeches. So for each of the major speeches, there are basically 3 components. You have to outline the speech, present the speech, and then review your classmates' speeches. For each speech, I have a separate video where I discuss what's happening and what you're responsible for in that speech, but I just want to kind of lay out the basic expectations now. So you can't submit a speech for grade without an outline. We do not give unprepared speeches in this class, but we also don't write speeches in this class. So you should not be reading a presentation or reading a speech when you present. So you need to prepare what you're going to talk about, and that gets submitted as a full sentence outline. And that says basically, I have thought through what I'm going to present, and I have a basic structure of that presentation, and I can utilize some notes to keep me on pace and on track, so I know what I'm talking about. But one thing I will say is that a lot of times students think they can have, so I'm using my computer, they can just put their speech up here and then read it. But if you do that, it becomes very obvious that you are reading off of the screen in your video, because we can all tell that that's what's happening. So you have to consider how the video interacts with the presentation. So for me, right now, I have my notes in terms of the syllabus and the schedule. So that's what I'm looking at occasionally, and looking down is okay as long as I'm maintaining eye contact. So those are the kinds of things that we're going to talk through and work out. But I do want to be very clear that you should not be writing a whole speech. You should be preparing a speech and submitting an outline. So the outlines are always due before the speech, there's usually a day or 2 lag time. So you're going to submit your outline, demonstrate you're prepared. Then you're going to record your speech, which is what I'm doing now. And then you will post your speech to YouTube. So you do need to create a YouTube account. It's free. And then you'll share the link in as the submission. So that's you submitting your speech, is sharing your YouTube link. And that lets me go in and watch it. But it also lets your classmates go in and watch it. And that's, again, how this is a sort of public speaking course, a course that has a distinct audience of people who are watching your speech. So after you share your speech, you'll go back into the submissions, and you'll pick a minimum 3 students, and you will watch their presentation. So over the course of the term, you're gonna watch at least 9 students, because you can't watch the same ones for different speeches. And then you'll fill out a peer critique form. If I was sitting in a classroom with you, you would have a form that you actually fill out. So on the online version, it's a Google form with some specific questions that you're asked to answer for each of the speeches that you watch. But I also want to sort of emphasize here that this is a substantive assignment. I'm asking you to give detailed feedback and to explain your feedback. So I am expecting, full sentences, paragraphs, not simply, good eye contact, but to explain why and how you think a student engaged in a particularly good behavior or things that they would need to work on. So that happens for each of the three major speeches: your demonstration speech, your informative, and your persuasive speech. Outline, speech, and peer critiques. Okay. So again, I'll explain those individually as we move forward. So the last thing I want to sort of mention as it relates to the speeches is that your informative persuasive speech is actually on the same topic, and you can review that video if you're interested in doing it now, but that topic has to be approved. So that happens very quickly in week 2. So you do need to be looking ahead and thinking about that, because those are researched speeches. So you need the time to go and do library research and collect sources and provide support for the claims that you're going to make in that speech. So I try to have a very detailed outline of the course in terms of the due dates in the schedule. So it doesn't look like a schedule I would provide face-to-face, where a lot of this stuff is just stuff we'll do in the classroom. So I try to be very clear about helping you look ahead. So for example, in the week 1, I ask you to review the demonstration video speech, or the video about the speech, so that you can prepare, because in week 2 you're going to present your demonstration speech. So I would encourage you to make sure you always have a copy of this schedule available and that you look ahead. And that's really the last thing that I want to mention in this video, is that this is an incredibly fast-paced course. It is both face-to-face and online, but it is 6 weeks to cover the same number of speeches, the same amount of chapter material as we would do in a 16-week semester. So every week we are essentially doing several weeks worth of work for what we would do in the normal semester. And really that means that there's a lot of time pressure in terms of your commitment to the course and staying on top of it. And the sort of fastest way to not succeed at this course is to not plan for that kind of pace, and to think that you can do things rushed or last minute. So please review the schedule. Please plan out the way the 6 weeks will work for you, and do the things you need to do ahead of time if you have plans or if you have things that come up that you need to, because not meeting those deadlines is the way that you don't succeed. And I think that's extra hard online, because the thing about online classes is that because you can always do it, you never prioritize it. And I really want to sort of emphasize that you have to prioritize this. I think that the best way to do that is to make sure that you have time specifically set aside to work on this class, or you'll always leave it till the end, and you'll always feel rushed, and you'll always be behind, and you'll start to miss deadlines, and that compounds very quickly in a 6-week course. So, but otherwise, in 6 weeks, you'll have knocked out one of the more challenging courses, and a course that meets a lot of expectations and requirements at the college and at the university level. So I'm excited that you're here with us. I'm excited that you are going to try out the online version of this class, and I look forward to working together in the next 6 weeks. So if you have questions or concerns, it'd be a great time to post them in the Ask the Instructors section, or if you have something of a personal nature, then please go ahead and send me an email, and we'll chat. So thank you.